Hi, my name is Geert Theys. I'm head of Fintech at SmartDev. Today the topic will be NeoBanks. It's very close to my heart because I helped being at the root of establishing a new bank in my home country. It was the crisis of 2009, people lost their beliefs in banks, and a cooperative bank grew out of this in my home country. What is a cooperative bank? It's a bank that is owned by their customers because they invest in the bank, they get shares to it. But it was a good journey for me to learn what it all takes to start up a new bank. The monetary requirements, the compliance and regulatory, but also the tech behind it. Now, neobanks are mobile first. They came out of a need to be mobile first, to capture the younger audience. But now they're doing one service, one bank service, good, but they're also shifting more and more to being a full bank or a complete bank, a neobank. Now they can implement new technologies, AI, automation, etc. Let's talk about the evolution of the neobanking landscape. In previous video, I talked about open banking, how open banking was driven from a regulatory and compliance perspective in Europe, but it helped coming to age of the neobanks. Before banks, they owned a relationship with their customer. They owned the data of the customer. It was all with one bank. Now they share the data with third parties, but they also share services with third parties. So third parties can resell certain services, but also use the data. Now, this has created an ecosystem where fintech companies can extend on services that maybe a traditional bank cannot do as quickly or as efficiently as the fintech company, but this helps the bank to acquire more customers and broaden their customer base. So it's also an economic benefit for banks and not just a regulatory checkpoint to validate. Now, what types of neobanks are there? I just told about the bank that we established in my home country, a challenger bank to the traditionals, a digital challenger bank to the traditionals. So how does this work? First of all, you ask the question, do they have a full banking license? The bank that I supported, well, they went for the banking license, but it doesn't mean you need a banking license. So if it's no, I would consider that a neobank. They don't have a full banking license. There are two routes here. You can be an independent, just reusing the open banking services, create new products on top of it, or you can actually go in a partnership with the banks. In my home country, most of the neobanks, they are in partnership with an established bank. In my home country, it was the goal to capture the younger audience, to be mobile, to have real-timeness in their transactions, etc. So all the traditional banks established a neobank, which is a kind of a satellite for them. Now on the other side, you have the challenger banks that have a full banking license. That can be very big fintech companies or fintech startups with a lot of capital and being able to do this. Or they're backed by a telecom or a big consortium. I'm thinking about WeChat, I'm thinking about Line in Thailand, that are big tech companies that also go into banking. The state of the neobanking in 2024. I told it's always shifting, but what is the current state? 2020, 2022, we saw a very big growth in valuation and in revenue for neobanks. Now, this was due to COVID, everybody going online, shopping online, doing digital payments. It outpaced even the US in the Asia Pacific. And actually in the Asia Pacific, it's going to be the world's top region for neobanks in the future. Now, the fundamentals stay strong. There is revenue growth, but the valuations were a little bit high. So there was a correction on this valuation. It was necessary, maybe it was a little bit an overcorrection and it goes up again in the future, we will see. As I mentioned before, the growth was led by payments, digital payments, but also the next wave will be B2B. Today, another big growth factor for neobanks, why I say Asia Pacific, but I will also mention Africa or Latin America. We have to consider that 80% of the adults in the world are underbanked or unbanked. So there's a big growth potential there, and I think NeoBanks going to play a very critical role in these emerging banks instead of in the developed world, where it will stagnate a bit. Revenues will keep growing. There are studies around it. It will grow $1.5 trillion by 2030. So it's a very, very big market still to capture. But I think neobanks, fintech companies, need to be on their toes because the incumbent banks are catching up and are going more mobile, are going more via the internet. So you have to go on the offense if you're a fintech company.